June 28th, only days into the summer now, and although I should be outside, cruising around in my vehicle with the windows down, sipping on malted vanilla milkshakes and hanging out at the drive-in, I have to say, I'm still compelled to look to the future, to imagine those cool autumn days, picking pumpkins and scampering around the tall piles of fallen leaves, sipping on hot caramel apple cider with liberal amounts of whipped cream on top. So I had an idea. How about for a moment, just a moment, that we flash forward, put ourselves in the state of mind of the fall. Why would we do this? Well, I have a very special fragrance in my hand by Yankee Candle, brand new for 2017. And as of the date that I'm filming this segment, this fragrance has yet to officially be announced here in the United States. Now, some of you may be thinking that I'm referring to Dazzling Red Maple. No, no. The candle that I hold before me is entitled Moonbeams on Pumpkins. And it's harvest time. So as you may or may not know, for 2017 fall in Europe, Moonbeams on Pumpkins is going to be one of several candles, fragrances released. But if you take a close look at this votive that I acquired, this is not the European label. No, this is going to have the new font, the new shaped photograph. So this could only mean that this candle, in some shape or form, is going to be released here in the United States. I've scoured the internet and there's virtually no signs, no clues to suggest that Yankee Candle was going to release this fragrance here in the United States this year. So I think there's only one thing to do. We have to evaluate the fragrance of this candle. Now, I have smelled this cold plenty of times, but I think I want to break out the aroma prison. If you don't know what the aroma prison is, make sure you check out the link in the description below. I'll post my video on that. But essentially, I'm going to take exactly 5 grams of this votive and put it into a mason jar, lock that mason jar, and put that jar into a double boiler. What will happen is all of that wax will melt, the oils will volatilize, and all of the fragrance will be airborne inside, locked in that mason jar. All right, so here it is, folks. 5 grams of melted moonbeams on pumpkin. You see that? Let's open this up and give it a shot. A lot of anticipation surrounding this moment for me. Okay, I've smelled this cold, like I said. This is a much more explosive encounter. Pumpkin bread, pumpkin loaf, pumpkin muffin. That's the effect. Warm, baked pumpkin goods. We have all of the classic pumpkin spices, you know, the cinnamon stick, the freshly grated nutmeg, the ground ginger, and perhaps like peppercorn. But there's a significant nuttiness here, like roasted pecans, roasted chestnuts, and dried fruit too. There's dried fruit sometimes, right? In pumpkin bread? No, maybe? Like golden raisins, or adding to a little bit of that extra spiciness, like the dried orange zest. Rum raisin bread. Rum raisin bread, yeah. There's a little bit of this booziness here, like a spiced rum. Captain Morgan. I think the number one adjective here is baked. Everything about this right now is just baked goods, down to even more of these fruit notes that I'm getting, like baked apple or spiced apple cider, which is kind of reminding me of like apple cider donuts or apple pie crust. And whereas Yankee Candle's sugared pumpkin swirl was spicy and sweet, this is going to be more spicy and savory, because we're getting loads of that salted, melted, clarified butter, sweetened with vanilla, heavy cream, or even like condensed milk. I can't help but think about that perfectly crusty, crumbly, crunchy muffin top. And check this one out, honey Teddy Grahams. Oh yeah, because we're definitely getting that sweetness too. And with that butteriness, with that like brown sugar sweetness, we're getting caramel, that crunchy caramelized creme brulee topping. You know, we said pumpkin spice, but what about like pumpkin puree? What about roasted pumpkin seeds? Well, I would say there's a little bit of this pumpkin puree in there. There's a definite pumpkin smell. But interestingly, this reminds me a little bit more of like pureed carrots, which gives this like a carrot cake, like a spiced carrot cake effect. So if I had to paint a portrait of this candle, imagine the Halloween season, the autumn season comes around and you're walking by one of those hobby shops, whether it be Michael's or the Christmas tree shop, and the front doors open and you get that gust of the pumpkin spices, that definitive smell of autumn. But what I find interesting is that there is this lingering, what I would call oakiness in the background here. And what's special for me about that oakiness is that it brings us outside. It says, hey, let's go outside for a second. And again, it brings me back to walking through those piles of leaves, kicking up the dirt on the forest floor. And, you know, there's a fond place in my memory for the autumn and Halloween when you would go to the amusement parks, the haunted attractions, the haunted hay rides. And while you were waiting in line in the cold, there'd be all of those concessions. Over there, they're selling the hot apple cider. Over here, the candy apples, the caramel apples. You got the buttered popcorn over there. This smells like a conglomeration of being at an amusement park with all of those concessions, all of those smells lingering around, working in beautiful, magical harmony. Meanwhile, you have those outdoor smells, that freshly fallen foliage, the dirt beneath your feet. This is like hanging outside on a cold autumn night, waiting to get on that spooky hayride. And speaking of night, the color of this wax, I love this choice, and the name I adore. Moonbeams on pumpkins. That word moonbeams really, really strikes a chord, at least in my imagination. With the color, the name, it creates this nocturnal concept. It brings us to the autumn night. Kind of how crisp fall night or autumn nights brought us to the evening. I close my eyes and I think about sitting outside with the leaves rustling, with that cool moonlight beaming on our face, and all of those pleasant smells of baked goods coming out from all of the kitchen windows of the neighborhood. Absolutely fantastic. If you can't tell already, I think this is an excellent execution by Yankee Candle. This is right down my alley. What do you guys think? Is this something you would be into? Does this strike a chord with your imagination? Do you like the sounds of all of the descriptors that I used? Would you purchase this candle? Leave that in the comments below. So I wish I had a little bit more information about how, when, and where you'll be able to find and purchase moonbeams on pumpkins, but I'm sure time will answer all of those questions soon enough, and I'll be sure to keep you posted on that. I had to scour outlets. I had to call up so many different Yankee Candle storefronts to finally track this fragrance down. But you're probably asking why I only bought one. I didn't. I actually bought every single one that they had in stock. That's right. And what am I going to do with all these? I'm going to give them away to you folks. So make sure you check out my next live YouTube chat to find out how you can get one of these in the mail. I have a bunch to give away. But either way, thank you so much for joining me on this evaluation. I've been anticipating this one for so long. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, maybe, just maybe, you might want to do that. Once again, thanks again. We'll see you folks real soon. Have a good one.